Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, Julia, for joining me. I've been meaning to reach out to connect and learn more about your background and everything that you do, because I feel like you've been a familiar face on all the different online courses that I've been taking, and I feel like I really know you just from like the different online schools we've been in.
Mm.
Um, and so today I'm really excited to talk to you about your conversion copywriting career, also online learning, and you're a globetrotter, so I also wanted to touch on that as well.
Sounds
Um,
good.
yeah, okay, great. To kick off, I feel like I met you through learning online,
Mm.
and I wanted to kind of like trace back the steps because I know you and I are both sort of in love with wanting to be lifelong learners. And I
Yes.
wanted to think about when you were back in school, what did you admire most about when you were back in the classroom as a student growing up? What really stays with you today about that student mindset?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I think never anybody has asked me that, kind of like going back to the school days, because everyone kind of just leaves that behind, moves on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always loved being in school, then being in college, then being in my MBA program. I always loved the whole kind of like learning environment and learning about new stuff. Like in high school, I really enjoyed learning about so many different subjects.
Hmm.
The bad thing is just that once you finish high school, kind of you almost forget everything.
Hmm. No, exactly. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to math. And I think just a couple of years I was kind of going through my old school stuff because I just actually wanted to throw it out. And I saw all my notes and I couldn't believe that I actually knew how to solve all those complicated looking equations. Like, what? It seemed
Yeah.
like almost I was like a different person being able to do that.
Yeah. Do you ever think about, like, I know you took Building a Second Brain and it's a course all about personal knowledge management systems. I always think about what it would be like if I still had all those notes from growing up, how maybe my life would be
Mm.
differently, and like maybe what knowledge I could have reinforced and actually learned today. To put it back on you, like, what do you think growing up, what notes would you treasure that you wish you still had that you could maybe relearn or learn in a different way now?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, it was all still paper notes and kind of like copying in my notebook what the teacher was writing on the class, on the board, on the in the class. So this is all kind of lost. I've since moved on to my second brain is all stored in Evernote. So I really wish I had all this information, all those notes I have ever taken, like just in my Evernote. That would be amazing. Like especially, I would want to go back to, I feel like, my German class. And we did so much creative writing there, and going into like poems and like kind of like old literature and kind of like interpreting those. And I would kind of love to visit those again. That would be fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. I think I know German's your native language, but I think like I even look back at my English classes and I'm like, oh, this is so great. I wish I could go look back at those old poems or essays I wrote and everything. That actually brings a good segue into writing. You said that you really loved writing in your German classes. And now you're a copywriter, and I'm kind of new to this space of really understanding what copywriting is. And I know you got your MBA and you came from this business background, and
Mhm.
you've kind of, I'm assuming you've been a writer and you've always liked it, but how did you kind of know that that was a skill you really wanted to invest in and actually
Hmm.
end up getting paid money for and just pursuing that full time?
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you can actually get paid money to do that, and I wasn't aware of that until a couple of years ago. So how I kind of like ventured into that was that I was pretty fed up with my corporate job and
Hmm.
was very burned out from that, and I was just looking for something else. I
Look at
hated
this pen. You used to work at ING, right?
yes, so
Sorry.
we could earn G. Yes, exactly. Awesome.
Yeah.
And
No,
but that was not the job that burned me out. Actually, it was the one
okay.
after that. And I felt like I just I didn't like going to the office.
Hmm.
I like the working environment and kind of like working with people, but I just hated having to go to an office to do my work. Like, why can't I do this just from home, from somewhere else?
Mhm.
It can't be that hard. So I just wanted to do something that would, like free me up to do my work from anywhere. And it's like I've always loved to write. I've always been the writer in lots of different contexts. In my work, I was always the one doing the presentation, writing the emails. In my MBA program, I was always the one writing the reports. So I was just looking for ways like, how can I use writing to kind of like build a new career and do that. And then I stumbled into copywriting. I started part-time next to my full-time job. And once I figured that, this is a real thing, I think this is going to work, then I quit my full-time job. And this is now my second year in business, and I'm definitely not looking back. And this has been a great step for me.
Did you think when you kind of took the plummet into doing it full time, did you have reservations around like what the worst thing could happen and what you would otherwise want to pursue if it didn't
Mm.
work out?
Yeah, you should always have like a fallback plan, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've always trusted that I've kind of gathered enough credentials in my life, and I've gotten enough
Hmm.
kind of like experience that I would be able to kind of like find another like job at a company if I would have to.
Hmm.
But so far, this is not going. I don't think that's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, and I know like when you started to upskill and like learn copywriting, you took a bunch of courses, and did you feel like it was very self-taught, or did you feel like you could lean on others to collaborate and learn the skill in a social way? Like what was your approach for learning this kind of new terrain, whereas it's copywriting and it's different than just writing in general? So what was
Mm.
your approach can you just walk me through how you kind of started to get over that imposter syndrome of calling yourself a copywriter?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very different experience of learning copywriting than kind of like almost like learning everything else, because it was
Hmm.
completely like self-directed. There
Yeah.
was nobody telling me to do that. I had to motivate myself completely. I have to make the time for it next to my full-time job. So that meant kind of like working on the evenings and on the weekends. And there's no fixed curriculum that you have to take,
Yeah.
right, to become a copywriter. So I guess I just started with some free resources, which are plenty out there, and they're really, really great to get started with. But I wanted to take it seriously, so I took also paid courses. But even there, it was also not very social learning at all.
Hmm.
Actually, it was very much kind of like self-paced. You go at your own pace through this course, and kind of like then finding the right communities where kind of like copywriters hang out. For example, I'm part of the copywriter club underground.
Oh,
um,
cool.
that's a place where kind of like copywriters meet and hang out and kind of exchange like questions and help each other get unstuck on
Hmm.
problems, if it's like working with clients or not finding the right headline for like a landing page.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been dabbling in the space a little bit myself, so it's really intriguing. I want to follow up after about this group, um, but that kind of like you started taking these more self-paced courses, and I was curious for you. Like, I felt this kind of pivotal moment when I started taking the kind of type 2 online courses where I felt like I was launched into a community of like
Mm,
learners who could become my friends, and they weren't just people that I would one off like have a breakout with. I wanted to follow up and get to know them better. And
mm,
I'm curious for you, and you're like going from the physical classroom where we were talking about in high school to like college and university to like post college where you started kind of your own online learning journey. Like, was there any pivotal moment or story you want to share around like when you realized that online learning was something you wanted to start to segue your career
mm.
interests into?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that was, I think the pivotal moment was really this year. So this year I've taken a bunch of courses, starting with building a second brain, and I think it was April. And there I already noticed that this was a very different type of course, because it was live, and we had already kind of like a community going on Circle, and we were going into breakout rooms. I was experiencing that for the first time, and that it was so cool, kind of like just getting to know other people and who have kind of the common goal. And then like even a bigger step from that was taking a rite of passage, where which evolved into an even bigger, even kind of like tighter knit community. And we're still like, I met you there, right? And like so many other people who are still kind of around and who I'm talking to almost like on a daily basis. And that's where I realized like, wow, this is really awesome. And like rite of passage was such a kind of like life-changing course for me, that I wanted to kind of like go into the space, because I love learning and I want to create this type of experiences for other people.
Yeah, what's it like wanting to start to invest more in that experience? Like, I know you're trying to blend your different superpowers of like what your strengths are, what you're good at, and really just, I'm picturing like the personal monopoly Venn diagrams overlapping, and really like you're trying to blend them all together. And like, I'd love to do that myself. What's been your approach for really trying to blend your interests together to make your like dream career in a way?
Yeah, so the online course space is giving like so many great opportunities for complete type of new roles that people can take that didn't exist at almost like a year and a half ago. So there I'm kind of like combining my experience in copywriting and marketing as kind of like one part, because that is such a big part of launching an online course. I mean, the whole teaching part is one thing, but you have to get students, right? Otherwise the course doesn't exist. So you have to attract the right people and convince them that your course is a good idea and that they should invest in it. So this is the thing I can help with. And then the second part of that is running the course and creating the right learning experience for the students in it. So I'm working basically with the course creators to make sure that their expertise is packaged and taught in a way that will actually benefit the students and create this transformational learning experience. Because for the subject matter expert itself, it's often like not that easy actually to teach. I mean, they have all the hard-won knowledge and experiences, but because they're like so close to what they know, and it's hard for them to imagine how their students and what kind of mindset the students are when they don't know what they know, right? So I'm kind of being the bridge between the students and the subject matter, the expert, making sure that this gets kind of like translated in the right way to the students.
Yeah, I'm envisioning you kind of like a sounding board in a way, where you're in the student's shoes, but also switching into the teacher's shoes and trying to like, like you said, be the bridge between both the roles. Do you envision yourself ever in the future wanting to build your own course, or do you really like this idea of being the bridge? Because I know myself growing up, I always loved math, and I was like, oh, if all else fails, maybe I'll just be a math teacher, and that would be really fulfilling. So I don't know, I'm curious if you have any like plans like that tentatively in the future, where you think it'd be cool to also be a course creator.
Yeah, great question. I think that is something that I want to grow into, but it will have to be step by step, because that doesn't come naturally to me. I think always in my career, I've always been mostly in a supporting role where I help others succeed and where I help lift others up. And I know that I'm really good in that role. So, and kind of like standing in the spotlight myself is something I'm just very slowly kind of getting used to, as I'm showing up more online like that, publishing my own videos, starting my blog and my newsletter. So it's a step-by-step process, and I think maybe I'll eventually get there, but slowly.
Yeah, no, I completely relate to that around the support roles. I read that you were previously a project manager, and I was a project manager at a human capital consulting firm the past year as well. So I was like, oh, I've been there, done that. And I'm curious, like when you like tell your narrative to yourself around like what you took with you from your past experiences being in those
Mm.
corporate roles? What do you kind of tell yourself of like what is transferring from those experiences?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've worked 10 years in the corporate environment,
Wow.
and it has really, it has like a big impact on me for sure, because I know I know how it is to kind of navigate like the office politics and all this
Mm,
stuff, and work in like a multinational organization where you have to kind of like consult like 10 different stakeholders before anything can
yeah.
ever happen. And so I know all this stuff that is kind of like more like on the negative side, where I
Hmm.
wish like, this, wish that were different. But I've also gotten, of course, a lot of the positive effects of having done a lot of like training as part of my
Hmm.
roles, and being exposed to a lot of different cultures. I've worked in a lot of different European countries on projects where I will be like really grateful forever to have gotten that
Hmm.
opportunity to travel that much
Yeah.
as part of the job. So that was amazing.
Hmm.
I think
I'm
that's yeah,
jealous.
that's I think a big part that I've taken away from that, just to have gotten to know so many different people, too many different cultures, and know how to navigate the cultural differences and work with people from all over the world.
Yeah, you can't
Mm.
exactly learn that in a classroom with
Mm.
just a teacher telling you. It's more of a learn by doing. So I'm
Yeah,
really
for sure.
envious you've had those life experiences to add to your life
Mm.
resume, I like to call it. And I at the beginning I mentioned you were kind of like a globetrotter, and
Mm.
I kind of am envious of your nomadic lifestyle. But I wanted to like my hesitations around that sort of decision is that well, for one, I really value like being in person with my family and friends, and
Mm.
I feel like that's hard. I mean, 2020, if anything, it's proven to me that like it is doable and you can make it happen. But the other hesitation is like this feeling of feeling like a cloud and like feeling like I lack grounding in what I'm doing. And it is great to work from a computer wherever you are, but how do you
Mm.
kind of ground yourself when you feel like you don't know, when you're kind of juggling so much uncertainty in your career and then also your interests outside of what you pursue in your work?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Definitely has been a challenge, because also right now you could kind of call me homeless.
Yeah.
I'm staying with I'm just staying with family right now, and I'm hoping to maybe to move to Canada for a little bit, but then maybe
Yeah.
also move somewhere else, as I want to explore more of like especially North America and South America,
Hmm.
if that's hopefully possible next year.
Yeah.
Um, I think what grounds me there is kind of like traveling back to my parents on a regular basis,
Hmm.
like being back in my hometown, and seeing them. Like, this is a very stable factor in my life, because I always know that I can go back there, like almost like nothing is unchanged for the
Yeah.
last the
Yeah.
last 30 years. Everything has stayed the same.
It's like a time capsule. I feel the
It
same way every time
is.
I go home, like for the holidays. I'm like, oh, nothing has changed.
Yeah. And that feels really good in a way, to have that, to have like this one place you can always go back to.
Yeah. In a way, it kind of shows your growth. I'm curious,
Mm.
how would you say in the past, 2020, lots of people say has not been a great year, but for me, it's been kind of an awesome year just with like all the online learning courses and everything I've been figuring out in my personal life. What would you say in 2020 has been something that has like if you were to go back to your childhood room
Mm.
and you would be like, oh wow, I've changed a lot, and that's like a physical way of seeing that change, but more conceptually, how would you think that you've changed this year so far?
Yeah, this year has been like really. I have had tremendous growth this year, I feel. So I will remember 2020 as a good year for me, for sure, in many ways, because I've started like doing so many things that I was afraid of for so long,
Yeah.
like starting a blog and starting a newsletter, or like showing up on Twitter and being more active there. And
Hmm.
yeah, I was just able kind of like to overcome all those fears, and just leave them behind, and move into this new, really move into this new direction.
Yeah, I myself am overcoming those fears too, and I know there's many others out there. What would you say to like yourself listening in 2019 who hadn't overcome those fears? What words of advice would you want to say to them to help them leap up the learning curve and fight the resistance to really be out in the arena and show up for what they know they can do despite the fear?
Mm, yeah. Well, I think I would say to myself, just find a good community of people who can support you
Hmm.
on the journey, because just doing it alone is really hard. And
Yeah.
especially in the beginning, when you're like full of doubt, you really need that supportive net that gives you feedback and tells you like, yeah, this is actually, you're onto something. This is actually good. Keep doing it,
Yeah.
and kind of like nudges you in the right direction. I think this is really the key to moving forward,
Yeah.
making it
I
happen.
I think like as learners, we always think we can be self-reliant and do it
Mm,
ourselves, but there's nothing wrong with recruiting some cheerleaders and a couple coaches along the way. I feel like it makes it more fun anyways.
definitely.
Yeah, and for the final question, I kind of wanted to ask you, I know you're kind of had a crazy 2020 learning curriculum of courses
Mm.
you've been diving into. What's ahead for you of other interests or hobbies or fun courses or even cool books that you are excited to dive into in the future?
Mm. Oh yeah. Honestly, I haven't given too much thought to that, because I've been, yeah, kind of like really pretty busy with handling what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to do rite of passage again,
Hmm.
to kind of like continue on that experience and to double down on it.
Yeah.
And in terms of new courses, I have no idea yet. But the fact that I'm also kind of like helping running courses right now, so I will be definitely engaged in those, for the second and third and hopefully more cohorts next year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really want to. So I'm looking for more learning in the area of the how to learn, and how I can help people learn. Like this is one area I want to kind of get better at, and the second area is always, of course, of improving my copywriting skills,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to launching, promoting, and selling around online courses. And my plan is to actually start working with a mentor in January
Mm,
around that. Mm.
that's exciting. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with recruiting some help.
Yeah.
I'm curious at the first initiative you were saying around really focusing on making student experiences more
Mm.
inclusive and like how people learn differently. What's going to be like, could you tell me more about what your approach is going to be for um, pursuing that? Because I also want to tag along and pursue it myself.
Yeah, I think the important thing of creating that kind of like engagement in an online course and making sure everybody kind of goes over the finish line is really to create community and bond the students together in a way.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing is that they're always pursuing kind of the same goal, but kind of like the more they can really get to know each other also on a personal level really much, the more you create those connections, and the more they feel like, okay, I need to show up because I want to be with these people. I'm actually looking forward to
Hmm.
interacting with that group. And that in
Yeah.
itself is so fun. And we're actually learning something together, and we're creating something together.
Hmm.
And just, yeah, just creating that environment is, I think, important to achieve.
Yeah, I'm envisioning it as like little kids meeting up for a play date, but it's like fun and it's like
Yes.
they're being educational. Like instead of watching like some drama TV, they're watching like a TED Talk or something and they're learning together and they get to bounce ideas off of each other. So yeah, that's a great vision and I completely support it.
Mm,
So thank you so much for answering all these questions, Julia. It's been a
thanks.
great
My
interview and
pleasure.
everything. Looking forward to seeing you in the rest of Rite of Passage. Performative speaking. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you in our Zoom room.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, cool.